A lot of times when you hear Medford as a brand, you think about something like this. But for Medford, they are getting things that are a little bit more EDC, and that is a Smooth Criminal. How's it going, Blazers? We're working to build that community to allow for discussion and providing specifications you can relate to so you can educate the decision on your purchases. So if you're looking for something like that, then please consider subscribing to the channel. So we're going to get started with some of the information on this one. We do have, this one is probably going to be a buy. It's not perfect though, so we'll go into that within the video. So we do have the blind knife review that is coming out on the 19th. 4 p.m. Pacific time, so set your reminders for that. We also do have a lot of premieres going on, so you can chat with us before and during watching the video for that, for the blind knife review, which is exciting because we also do have blind knife review number 2 coming, and this is that box. So we do have that one coming out. So this is where we're going to be going off of this knife here. This is the Smooth Criminal. As you know, most times Medford has the phosphorus bronze washers. That's what this actually had. So if somebody picked this up first runs, they actually did have phosphorus bronze as they're going through and then setting up the knife for an automatic. This one actually is running on bearings, which is very surprising when I first got it. I just thought it was like, how did they get the bearings that smooth? But it's actually, I mean, the washer's that smooth and it's actually on bearings, and that is why that is. So for this one, for the carry position, it seems like it should be ambidextrous, but you're probably gonna have to get another clip. So I'm not too sure if Medford offers a clip for that, but that would be an easy switch to go from right hand tip up to left hand tip up. Just would need a different bend to that. Initially, when I saw it, I thought that it would be able to be switched, but you wouldn't be able to do it with this clip for the ambidextrous side of things. So that's something that is a little different for that. But we'll look at some of the sizing between some of the other knives around. So we'll look at some of the small ones as well. So this one's going to be the little squid. And then we have the Natrix, copper Natrix, and D2. And this one just got finished out for me. This is going to be the blur. And that's the inserts, the Delica. Very comparable knife here. This is, oh, get that open there. And there's going to be the Tangram Vector. It's pretty much the same exact size as that knife, which is really surprising. And then we have the Rat 2, the Kershaw. That's going to be the Fraction. And then one I'm going to kind of compare it to, even though this one is so much cheaper than the Medford, but there's some things I like about this knife more than this one, which is kind of an odd thing for that, but we'll get into that also. So this one knife here, it runs off of S35 is the blade steel, as you can see on the blade there. So that's going to be a fairly good steel that you're going to have. It's going to be, as far as corrosion resistance, it's going to be pretty high on the scale, as well as hardness. It's going to also be fairly high on the scale too. So a lot of that comes down to that heat treat and that quench for that. And then we'll look also at the Creely blades, one for S35. It's going to be about the 75th percentile in comparison to everything, all the new steels that are out as far as that edge retention. So that is something that is available for that. You can look at the hand sizing for this for a male hand, adult male hand. So again, it's going to be in this upward position, which looks kind of odd for the picture, but as you print it out and you lay your hand on it, you can kind of see where that's going to be. So in comparison, so for adult male hand, starting off, and then we're going to roll into adult female hand for the knife, as you see on that chart. So again, that is in the descriptions down below for that. And then we're going to roll into as far as the weight. So the weight on it is 3.7 is what I got for the knife. And then we do have a blade length, so 3 inches for this, and then a handle length of 3.9. So this is going to be one that actually had a really good sharpness test. It came out to be 198 on the sharpness test for it. So that's going to be putting it right in the middle as far as a utility razor blade edge. So that's going to be a good starting point for the knife for that sharpness. So we're also going to look into the microscope, so you can actually see that the edge is actually really finely done, well finished for it. And then one thing that Medford's proud of, as far as what you're not going to find on something that's done by a machine, is if you look at the serrations here on the blade, it actually follows the curve of the actual blade. So this is going to be something, if you look at any other knife that you probably have, all the serrations are going to go straight across, and they're not going to actually follow that curve. So it's kind of a little bit of an artistic thing for it. So it is a really nice kind of touch for that. So as I started with the video, I said you should probably buy it as far as the knife itself, but there are some things that I don't like about it. Some things that is just the flipper tab action. So this one does have the flipper, but it is one that you have to have a little bit of wrist. So as you're using it, I mean, as a user blade, so if you're flipping out and going to work, it's going to be fine. But if you're going to be fidgeting with this knife, that's going to be where some of the issue is. Because, I mean, if you actually have it in a lockdown position and then you just flip the tab, it's going to be one that you can't just sit there at your computer desk or wherever you are and then flip the knife. You just add a little bit of wrist, it works out fine. And then, as you see, even as far as the drop for it, hit the table there, but it also is very smooth for the action. So that's something that is really good. But going back to that CRKT, the Titac 2, which is one of my favorite button locks, this one just has probably the most deployments that you can have for a knife, so very fidget friendly. In even a straight up position, so I'm just going to go and lock my wrist right on the table, and then that flips right out. Some of that is the issue is the flipper tab. So this one is in a little bit different position than the Medford. So even if you don't change the detent, so you could change a little detent, add a little bit more to this knife, and then it would actually be able to flip better. But for long time use, if you're going to be opening and closing it, that won't be as good. Or you can make the flipper tab a little bit bigger, or change the orientation. So if you even see as far as where the pivot is in comparison to where the flipper tab is, this one is going to be really low, and then this one about almost center line. So you can still push button this, so it is a little bit lower still. But if there was a little bit bigger flipper tab, then that would actually probably get this out there as snappy as the CRKT. So that's kind of how that is. So it still has a great sound to it, so very good action for that one. But this one just has just that ease of the flipper tab to pop that out, and then you still do have on bearings for that. So those are the kind of the comparisons to those. But this one is one that I kind of would pick up. So if, I guess there's been a lot of those tag videos, so the one knife type of thing, I would probably just pick this up as my one knife. I would be satisfied with it. It would meet what I need it to do. It would be pocket friendly. It's not something that would freak people out. This one I took to work, and then it just like, anytime I took this out of my pocket, I was like, okay, hopefully nobody's gonna look at me when I take this out of my pocket. That one is a little bit big and chunky, kind of more what the old Medfords were like. And still, I mean, you can still get some of those Medfords as well. So let me know as far as the comments down below as far as what you think on that. This one, again, I guess we didn't go into the actual pull weight on it. So we'll look at that real quick. This is going to be about 1 pound, I think 1.6 pounds for it. Now, just wondering if that would actually be able to be added with a detent ball to actually be able to adjust that. Yeah, so 1 pound, 6.6 ounces. So normally the 2 to 3 pounds I feel is a good weight for the pull. That's where I just don't know if that's feasible for that, to be able to now kind of just have a detent ball just for the close position, so you can really dial in that flipper. But I'm not too sure. But check it out. Medford has a lot of new items coming out. So even if you want to get a Smooth Criminal, a lot of people are waiting for them. If you go over to the shows, they are going to be having some there. as well as just wait a little bit longer. There also should be a bigger one and an automatic. So the automatic is something that he talked about before, and then they're really dialing it in. So check that out. Check out Medford. Let me know in the comments, and thanks again for your time.